Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to learn complete Redux Toolkit and RTK Query in one video with React by building two projects. Each project we will build from scratch, and the source code of each project I will provide in the description. So you can always check out the description for project GitHub link. So first we will start with some theoretical concept, like we will try to understand the core problem of React, why we use Redux with React, and what is Redux Toolkit, what API include inside this Redux Toolkit, what is create async thing. So all this concept we are going to understand with the help of PPT. Now let's talk about the project that we are going to build in this video. So the first project, we are going to build a CRUD application with the help of Redux Toolkit and create async middleware in a React, and we will be using JSON placeholder fake API to perform all CRUD operation. So with the help of this application, you are going to learn how to make get, post, put and delete requests with create async middleware in your React Redux Toolkit application, and we will be using Ant design for building the UI component. So this will be our first application that we are going to build with the help of Redux Toolkit and create async in React. After that, our focus will be on learning the concept of RTK Query, which is very powerful data fetching and caching tool. So we will go some theory part of RTK Query, and after that we will build another CRUD application with the help of RTK Query in our React. So with the help of this application, you will learn to write different query to make API requests such as get, put, post and delete. And for this application, we are going to use Redux TypeScript template. So guys, these two applications we are going to build in this video, and I hope you will enjoy it. So before we get started and learning this concept, if you haven't subscribed this channel, then please do subscribe my channel. Like and share this video with your friend and colleague if you find out that video is useful. And one more important announcement I wanted to make here before we get started. So if you wanted to learn latest stuff related to Android, then you can subscribe this channel. You will get here latest content on Android. So please check out this channel, and also please subscribe this channel as well. I will provide the channel link in description. So please check out the description. Now let's start learning all this concept. First we will understand the core problem of React.js state management. So we have our main app component, then we got our sub component, and if we want to change a text, then we cannot do directly. Instead I have to inform a parent and change a text there, and if I got additional component, then it will get even more complex. So therefore we have a Redux which have a different approach. So here we have our view or application, and in this application, in any given component, we dispatch an action. Then action ran through the reducer. A reducer has a simple job or task, so it will take an action, then it will take old state, manipulate it, and it will give a new state. So this manipulation will happen based on the immutable. That means it won't change the old state. It will take old state as a basis and then create a brand new state. So kind of copy of old state with the changes employed. So old state stay untouched. We just create a new state and return this new state. So this immutable gives you unique state in your application. So now we are getting a new state from reducer, then it will get stored into store, and we will have only one store in our application. So this store has a one simple task to store our state. That's why it's called store. We might have a multiple reducer, but we will have only one store in our application, and then our application subscribe to this store, and whenever state is get updated, so new state passed to the store will automatically send it to all the component interested, and the application will get updated. Now let's back to the previous example where we had our app component with other component, and now we also have a store. Now if we wanted to change something in the user component from main component, then we will dispatch an action, then change the state in reducer, and then we pass the state to all component interested. So this is the all about what is Redux and why we use Redux in React.js. So now let's understand what is Redux Toolkit. So Redux Toolkit is also used for managing application state in a React application in efficient way. So it provides some batteries included tool set for efficient Redux development. So this batteries included tool set term look little bit fancy here, but you will understand this term later. So Redux was already popular option for state management in our React application. Then why Redux Toolkit is required? So with Redux Toolkit, there was so much code required to configure store to optimize at base level. And there was too much boilerplate code which makes our code less clean and efficient. Also, too many packages need to install to build a scalable application. And with traditional Redux, we used to write action and reducer in separate file, and this become more complex when our app get used. So to address this challenge, Redux team came up with the Redux Toolkit. So Redux Toolkit is a better approach for writing Redux logic. So overall, Redux Toolkit speed up Redux development by including Redux core with Redux Toolkit package that they think are essential to build a Redux application. So Redux Toolkit allow developer to write simple, fast and clean Redux code. So this is all about Redux Toolkit and why we use with React. So I hope you understand this fancy term now, that is battery included toolset. So this is all about Redux Toolkit. Now let's understand this Redux Toolkit with one basic scenario. So suppose we have to build a counter application and we have to manage a state. So first I am going to show you the traditional approach with Redux. So with traditional Redux, so we usually write reducer and action in a separate file, as you can see that here. So we have action.js in which we have a two action to increment the counter value or decrement the counter value, and in reducer.js file we have a logic to increment a counter value or decrement a counter value. So this is the traditional Redux approach. Now let's see how we approach with the Redux toolkit. So in Redux toolkit we write our reducer and action in the same file. So you can see that we have written our action and reducer under the create slice. So with Redux toolkit approach, we can make the code much more concise by using create slice. So both the reducer and action can be written like this way under the slice. So by seeing this code, defining reducer and action become cleaner and faster in Redux toolkit. So there is no longer need to use the switch statement to manage the action with its corresponding reducer. And another thing you might have noticed here, like we are now directly mutating the state value in the reducer function instead of returning a new value to update the state. So this is actually happened because Redux toolkit used the Immer library which allow writing the mutating logic in reducer. So this is all about the Redux toolkit with the basic scenario. Now let's talk about this Redux toolkit API. So it includes following this API in Redux toolkit package. So let's start with the first one, that is configure store. So it's wrap our create store to provide a simplified configuration option and good default. It can automatically combine your slice reducer and you can supply any middleware whatever you want, and with Redux toolkit Redux Thunk included by default, and it also enable the use of Redux Dev Tool extension. So there is no need to write code to configure Redux Dev Tool with Redux toolkit package. So you just have to install Redux Dev Tool extension in your Chrome browser. So Redux Dev Tool automatically work with the Redux toolkit package. So this is all about the configure store. Now let's talk about this create reducer. So basically it simplify writing our Redux reducer function logic because it use Immer library internally to update state immutable by writing mutative code in your reducer, and support directly mapping a specific action type to case reducer function that will update the state when the action get dispatched. So it supply a lookup table of a action type to case reducer function rather than writing switch case statement. Now let's move on and talk about the create action. So create action basically generate an action creator function for the given action type string, and it can also be used in place of type constant. So now let's talk about this create slice. So create slice is a function that accepts an initial state, an object of reducer function, and a slice name, and then it automatically generates an action creator and action type that correspond to the reducer and state. So overall, this create slice API is a standard approach for writing our Redux logic. Now let's move on and talk about the create async thing. So create async thing is used to perform asynchronous task with the Redux Toolkit package. So this function normally accepts three parameters. The first parameter will be action type, which will be in string. The second parameter will be the function that will return a promise and generate a thing that will dispatch either pending, fulfilled, or rejected action type based on that promise. And the third parameter will be the option object. Now let's talk about this create entity adapter. So it generates a set of reusable reducer and selector to manage the normalized data in the store. So this is all about the Redux Toolkit API, and we will understand more about this API like create slice, create async thing, configure store in detail once we start building our application. Now let's understand this create async thing. So in Redux, whenever we have to perform asynchronous task, we use middleware, and middleware could be anything. It could be either Redux Thung or Redux Saga to perform asynchronous task. And Redux Thung middleware is a popular package with the Redux. And with Redux Toolkit, Redux Thung is included by default, allowing create async thung to perform asynchronous logic before sending the process result to the reducer. So here we have our sample code, and I will give you the brief overview of this sample code. So now I will first talk about this create slice. So a slice is a function that contains your store and reducer function used to modify store data. So overall inside this create slice API, we write our Redux logic. So here you can see that we have one name property. So this is nothing but it is a slice name. So first we have to provide a slice name inside this create slice. Then we have to provide initial state. So here we define our initial state for our application. So here you can see that we have initial state like entities and loading false. Now we have a reducer object here. So inside this reducer object, we handle synchronous requests that made to the store. Now we have an extra reducer. So in extra reducer, we handle asynchronous request, which is our main focus. So asynchronous request created with create async thung accepts three parameters. The first parameter will be the action type string, and the second parameter will be a function that return a promise and generate a thung that dispatch pending, fulfilled, or rejected action type based on that promise. And the third will be the option object, in which basically we provide a different configuration to our create async thung API, but the third parameter is an optional here. So whenever this action get dispatched from a component within our application, so create async thung generated three promise life cycle using the same action type string as a prefix. So here you can see that it's generated pending, fulfilled, and rejected. And all this life cycle we basically evaluate inside our extra reducer. So all this three promise life cycle that is generated by create async thung is going to evaluate inside our extra reducer. So generally what happened? So on initial call, create async thung will dispatch this action type, okay, that is a pending, and then we will have our payload creator which will execute to return either a result or error. So in case of error, create async thung will dispatch an action with rejected, and if our data fetch is successful, then create async thung will dispatch this action type that is fulfilled. And all three promise lifecycle we will be evaluating inside this extra reducer object, where we make our desired changes to the store. Okay, so this is all about the create async thung. So guys, in this project we are going to use this JSON placeholder fake API to build our CRUD application with the help of Redux Toolkit and create async thung. So we are going to use this API like getting the post based on the ID. We are going to use this API in order to post a single blog post, and also we are going to use this fake API to update a single post based on the ID, and at last we are going to use this API to delete a single post based on the ID. So overall we are going to use 4 API with Redux Toolkit in this project. So let's set up our project first. So I am in this directory and I'm going to open a command prompt and I'm going to create a React project. So npx create React app CRUD API toolkit. Okay, you can give any name, whatever you like. So let's create this project. So it will take around 2 to 3 minutes to install all the necessary dependency, and I'll be back once the whole process is get completed. So guys, our project setup now completed. So first let's go into this directory, that is CRUD API toolkit. So before we do npm start, I wanted to install some packages for this project. So I'm going to install packages like ant design. So we are going to use ant design to build our component. Then we need to install Redux Toolkit. So Redux.js / toolkit, and we also need React router DOM. Okay, so only 3 packages is required for this project. So let's install all these packages, and meanwhile I will open this project in the Visual Studio Code. So guys, it's look like our all package now installed, and I have already opened this project in my Visual Studio Code. So let's go into the VS Code. So as you can see that this project is open in my VS Code, and here we have packages like, so here we have a packages like ant design, Redux Toolkit and React router DOM. So guys, in order to use ant design component in our React project, first we need to bring the ant design CSS file in order to use the ant design component in this React project. So I'm just going to bring the ant design CSS file. So this is the CSS file we need to bring from our ant design. Then only we will be able to use the ant design component. So now we are going to do a structuring our project. So I'm just going to create some folders here. Like we are going to have one folder like user post and one folder with Redux. Okay, and first let's register some route. So I'm going to have index.js file, create post.js file, and we are going to have one more file, that is loading card.js file, in order to show the skeleton loader. So we have created this file. Now let's generate a snippet first. Okay, so we have this like create post. Okay, and in this index.js file we are going to fetch the post, we can update the post, and we can delete the post. So all these things we are going to do in this index.js file. So let's first generate a snippet, and this, let's give here only post. Okay, and in app.js file let's remove this one logo we are not going to use, and let's remove this whole part, and we are going to bring from React router DOM switch routes and route. Okay, so from React router DOM we are going to bring routes. So okay, and then we need route and browser router. Okay, so basically we are going to register this 2 route, that is create post and index.js file. Okay, this will be not index.js file, so let's give like home only. Let's just write here like routes. So here we are using React router DOM version 6. Okay, you can see that. So that's why I am using routes here, not switch. So I hope you are aware of those changes with respect to latest version of React router DOM. And here exact is also not required, so we can just give path, and instead of component we are going to use element. Okay, So first I'm going to register the home route our, okay, and the next route we are going to have like create post, okay, path create post, okay. So whatever the post you are going to create is not going to save in JSON server because JSON is a fake server. So here we are just mimicking the all the requests like get, put, post and delete. So you won't able to save any data in the DB. So we have registered this two route, and let's also do like browser router as well. So let's wrap this entire app with browser router. And let's remove this one, and let's first do npm start. So let's do npm start. Now let's wait for the application load into the browser. So guys, our application is load into the browser, and let's visit this route create post also, whether it's working or not. So this is also register. So we have successfully registered our two routes. So now I'm going to start with the fetching the post based on the ID. So first I'm going to create one input field and the button, two buttons, okay. So I'm going to start working from this file. So what we have to do now, so we need to bring some component from our ant design. So let's bring those component first. So the component we are going to bring like button, card, input and space, okay. Now from React we need to bring use state and use effect, and since we are going to fetch the post based on the ID, so we need to define first state with ID, okay. So ID set ID, okay, and let's give here like use state. In return we have to define one class name with container, okay, and after that we are going to have one heading. So basically we are performing the fetch post. Let's just give heading, and let's give style, inline style, text align center, okay. Now after this heading we are going to have an input field with placeholder like enter user ID. So with JSON server basically we are going to pass any random ID and we will get a post like title and body. So here type will be the number, on change we are going to give, so we can just do like set ID, and it will having the event e.target.value, okay. Now we have to pass the value as well. So value we have ID, and we can give some inline styling to our this input field. So width 300 pixel. Now we can have couple of breaks here, okay. So let's give breaks. Now we are going to have a space, one space component we are going to use because we are going to combine two buttons. So let's give size, so it will be small. Let's give inline style, so I'm just going to give overall margin 10, okay. And inside this we are going to have our button, our ant design button. So this button will be primary, okay, and we can give the button name like fetch user post. So once user give the ID in the input field, he will basically able to fetch that post. Now after that, what we have to do, so we are going to have one more button. So this button basically responsible for creating a user post. So this button basically navigate you to the create post that we have created here. Okay, so we have two buttons and we are going to have one on click method. So we can give here like fetch user post. Okay, let's define this fetch user post, otherwise we will get error. So we have defined this function, and in this function we are going to dispatch, okay, an action. So we have defined this function in which we are going to dispatch an action. So let's first go into the browser. So we have got this input field, and we have to also enable the navigation functionality to this button. So what we can do, so from React router DOM we can bring the use navigate. So we need to bring the use navigate. Okay, now we need to store the reference of use navigate into a navigate variable. Use navigate, and what we can do here, so on click we can just simply navigate toward the create post. Okay, so let's see, this is the route we have registered here. Yes, this is the same route that we have mentioned here. So let's go into the browser, refresh this one, let's click on create user post. So now we are able to navigate toward the create post, and let's type here something. So it will accept only the number, so we are able to type that one as well. So now the next thing, we are going to set up the Redux toolkit in our project. So here we have already created the folder. So here we have to create one more folder like features. Okay, and since we are dealing with the post, now we are going to give here slice like post slice, okay, .js. And in the root of Redux folder we are going to have our store.js file. Okay, so make sure it should be in the root of Redux. So I think it's created inside the feature. So let's delete this one and make sure the file should be inside this Redux folder. Okay, that is store.js file. So store.js file now we have in our Redux folder, and first we are going to write a Redux action with Redux toolkit to fetch the post based on the ID using create async thunk. So in post slice basically nothing but is a collection of reducer logic. So in slice basically we update the state of our component with the help of reducer. So we need to bring from Redux toolkit create slice and create async thunk. Create slice and create async thunk. Okay, now after that what we have to do, so with create async thunk we are going to make an API request. So as you know already, Redux thunk is included by default in Redux toolkit, allowing create async thunk to perform a delayed. So with create async thunk we are going to make an API request. So overall create async thunk is used for performing the asynchronous logic before sending the process result to the reducer. So let's create our first action with create async thunk. So export const get post. So after this, so create async thunk, and in the first parameter we are going to pass our action type. So you can pass like this way, post and get post. And the second parameter is callback function, which is responsible for making the API request. And the third is optional, it will contain an option object. So here we are going to write our async logic. Okay, So we are going to receive an ID from our component. So we can destructure the ID like this way, and after this we can do return, and we are going to use the fetch to make a API request. So we are going to use this API first. So we are going to get the post based on the ID. So we can just copy this one and we can paste it here. So we are going to use backtick because we are going to get the post based on the ID. So here we have to pass this ID. Then we are going to give a response and response.json. Okay. Now this create async thunk, basically what it does. So whenever we dispatch this action, that is get post from our component, so this create async thunk generate a promise life cycle. So the promise life cycle like pending, fulfilled and rejected, and we will be evaluating this 3 promise life cycle in extra reducer, where we can make our desired changes to the store. First let's create a slice. So export, so const post slice is equal to create slice. Okay, and first we are going to define the slice name. So let's give here post. Okay, and we are going to have initial state of our application. So first I am going to define the post with empty array. Then we are going to have loading false, then error, it will be null. Okay, so for now this much initial state is required for our application. Now we are going to have our extra reducer, in which we are going to handle the 3 promise life cycle that is generated by our create async thunk. So extra reducer, and inside this we are going to have like get post. Okay, get post dot pending. So first is pending, then fulfilled and rejected, and then we are going to have state action, and here we are going to have like state dot loading will be true. So in case of pending, loading will be true. Now likewise we are going to have fulfilled life cycle. So get post dot fulfilled. Okay, and state action, and here we can just do like set state dot loading to false. So now we got the data and we have to make the loading false state. Okay, now state dot post. So now we have to update the initial state of post as well. So we can just write like action dot payload. Okay, after this we are going to have rejected. Okay, so get post dot rejected and state action, and in this case also loading will be the false. Okay, and after this what we have to do, so state dot error, and here we can give like action dot payload. Okay, and here we have to use semicolon. Okay, so this will be semicolon, don't forget to use semicolon. So let's format this one. Now we have to basically export this one, export default post slice dot reducer. Okay, so we have write our first action. Now it's time to write the logic in our store.js file. So with Redux Toolkit, configuration of store is very simple. So we need to bring configure store from our Redux Toolkit. So from Redux Toolkit we need to bring configure store. Okay, and now we have to bring our reducer. So post reducer from our feature folder, that is post slice, and export default configure store, and here we are going to have reducer and app. So we are going to provide the key for this post reducer. So with the help of this app key, we are going to access the state that we have defined in our post slice. In order to access this state value in our component, that's why I have defined this app key. So we are done with the configuration of store. Now let's go to the index.js file, and first we need to bring one package like React Redux, because we are going to need provided so that I can wrap the store to our React application. So we need to install React Redux, and I forgot to install this package initially. So let's install now. So our package is installed now. Let's close this terminal, and first we need to bring provider from our React Redux, so that our component can access the state that we have defined in our store. And we need to bring store from our Redux folder. Okay, now we are going to wrap our app component with provider. Let's cut this one, paste it here, and we can use here store, and we can pass store. Okay, and you can also check this one whether you have successfully integrated Redux Toolkit with React application or not. So you can go to the browser and you can just open this Redux Dev Tool. So I'm going to open to my button, and here you can see the state. So that means we have successfully configured our Redux Toolkit in a React project. So now we have to basically dispatch this action which we have created in our post slice from our component. Okay, so let's go to the index.js file, and from React Redux we need to bring use dispatch and use selector. So use dispatch is used to dispatch an action. Okay, and use selector is used to select the state from our store. So first let's store the reference of use dispatch into a dispatch variable, then only we will able to dispatch an action. Okay, so here first we are going to check if you don't have any ID. We have to just show a simple error message like window.alert, and we can just give message like please provide an ID. Okay, so in else part we are going to dispatch an action which we have created in our post slice. So get post, and VS Code automatically import that action, and we can pass here ID like this way. Okay, because you can see that ID we are receiving here in the form of object, so we can pass the ID like this way. Okay, and after that we can just do one more thing like set ID to empty. So first let's check whether we are getting post or not based on random ID. So let's refresh this one first. Okay, and let's give one ID, and let's click on fetch post. Now let's see the dev tool hour. So you can see that our promise got fulfilled here. Okay, and here we have got one post. Okay, in an array of object. So now you can see that we have got this post. Okay, so now we have to basically display this post in our UI. So let's do that one. So now we have to basically extract the state from our store using the use selector. So we can use here use selector, and we can have here like a state, and we can spread out state dot app. Okay, because our reducer is stored with the app key, so with the help of app key we can access the state that we have in our store. So we have defined a state like loading. Okay, post. Okay, so this states we have defined in our reducer, I mean in slice. So first let's console log the post, okay, whether we are getting the post or not. Console log post. So let's go into the browser and let's give any random user ID. Now let's open the console. So you can see that we have got one array. So it will be always containing a single array of object because we are fetching the post based on the ID. Now we are going to display this post detail in a card component. So first I am going to put some code here in loading card. Okay, so we are basically showing a skeleton loader once loading is true, okay, and once loading get false, then we are going to show that data in a card component. And I'm going to paste code here for skeleton loader. And don't worry, I will attach this code in this lecture, so you can easily find out that code for this loading card. So now what we have to do, so we have the loading state, okay, and after this space I'm going to give couple of breaks, okay, and then we can have our loading state, and if loading is true, then in that case I am going to show the skeleton loader. So loading card, so VS Code automatically import that component, and here we can provide the count 1, and in the else part we are going to show the post detail in a card component. So here I am going to use fragment, and we are going to use one class name, that is ant design class name. So site hyphen card border hyphen less wrapper, okay. And after this what we have to do, so I'm going to use card here, okay, card type inner and title. So we can show the title like this way. So it will be always containing a single array of objects, so we can display like this way, post dot title, okay, this way we can show. And we can display the user ID as well. So user ID and post dot id, okay. So let's first check this one whether we are able to see anything or not. So let's go into the browser, and now you can see that we are able to see that ID. Refresh this one and we are getting some error, cannot read property of title, okay, no problem. So to fix this issue, what we can do, so we can just check here like post dot length is greater than 0, then only we are going to display this card component. So let's just cut out this one, let's paste here, and let's go into the browser, okay, refresh this one. Now let's give random user ID. Now you can see that we have got our post here. So this is the title and this is the ID. Now we have to show the body as well. So you can see that it's have a title which we are already displaying here, and we have to display the body as well in this card component. So what we can do, so we can have one span tag here, okay, span tag, and here we can show like post 0 dot body, okay, because we are fetching the single post based on the ID, so it will be always having a single array of object. So I hope you are getting this point. Now let's go into the browser. Now you can see that we are able to display the body as well for this post. So we are able to display this one. So we are able to display the title and body, and let's fetch again based on some any ID, and we have got the skeleton loader as well. So now we have to add two buttons, that is edit and delete. So let's add those buttons as well. So after this card we are going to show that button. So I'm going to use here a space and we can provide some props like middle. Okay, and I'm going to have some inline styling. So margin top I'm going to give here margin top 35, margin left that is 5, and I'm going to give float right. Okay, now between space we are going to have our button. Okay, so button, so again we are going to use and design component, and we can have here inline styling. So we have to specify cursor, pointer. Okay, we're going to have type. So type I'm going to give here primary. We are going to have danger. Okay, we will have on click method as well. So for now just define the value of button, so it will be delete, and the same thing I'm just going to copy for edit as well. So for edit it will be just edit only, and we can remove this danger part. Okay, and let's see whether we are able to see our buttons or not. So you can see that we got our buttons. So let's fetch again post. So we have got our button, so it is working. So the next operation we are going to perform the delete operation. So we can delete this post which we have fetched based on the ID. So first we have to write our action in our post/.js file. Okay, so let's do that one first. So in post/.js file I am going to have one more action, that is delete post. So I'm just going to copy this one and I'm just going to paste it here, and I'm just going to change this one, so it will be delete post, and this will be action type will be the delete post. Okay, and again we are going to delete the post based on the ID. So here we are going to receive the ID from our component, and the URL will be as it is, and additionally we have to provide method here because we are using fetch here. So we have to provide a method here like delete. So for getting the data from JSON server or any API, you don't have to provide method, but in case of other requests like post, delete or update, you have to provide the method here. So here we are providing the method delete, and this will be as it is. Okay, rest of the thing. Now we are making this API request. So this create async thing generate 3 life cycle which we are going to resolve in our extra reducer. So again what we have to do, so I'm just going to copy this 3 life cycle, that is pending, fulfilled and rejected, and I'm going to paste it over here, and make sure to change this one from get post to delete post. Okay, and we can remove this one array. Okay, it will be just action.payload. So let's use this action that we have created here in our component. So let's go to the index.js file, and in on click we can dispatch that action so that it can delete the record. So here I'm going to dispatch that action. So dispatch and delete post. So VS Code automatically import that action for me, and we can dispatch the ID like this way. So we are going to dispatch the same ID that we are using to fetch the ID. Okay, so post, and we can have ID here like in this first index of array dot ID. Okay, so let's see whether we are able to delete this post or not. So refresh this one. Let's fetch the post based on the 5 ID. We have got this post. Now let's click on delete. So now you can see that we are successfully able to delete the post as well based on the same ID that we have used for fetching the post. So delete operation is also done with our Redux toolkit in this application. Now the next operation we are going to perform the create user post. Once you click on this create user post, you will navigate towards the create post, and whatever the post you are going to create is not going to save in DB because we are using here JSON placeholder fake API, so it doesn't maintain any kind of database behind the scene, so you won't able to save this post in a DB. But we are going to mimic this post request with the help of this API. Okay, so first we are going to create that action in our post slide.js file. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this one and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, create post. Okay, and this will be the create post. Now we have to make some changes here. So since this time we are creating the post, so it won't accept any kind of ID, and we can remove this part. Okay, and after this what we have to do, so method we are going to provide post method here because we are creating a new post, and after that we have to provide the headers as well, otherwise it won't work. So accept. Okay, in headers we have to provide accept, and we can give here like application slash JSON. Then we have to define the content type application slash JSON, and we are going to have body, so JSON dot stringify, and we are going to create the post with title and body. So title we can give here, and we are going to receive a values. Okay, so we are going to receive a values from our component, so we can destructure this value like this way, and we can have like values dot title, and we can have like body, so values dot body. Okay, and the rest of the thing will as it is. So we have created this post, and don't worry, I will explain this part, values part. So here values nothing but it will contain an object with the titles and body information, and that's we are receiving here values from our component, and we are providing title and body. So we are going to have two fields in our create post, that is title and body. So first let's resolve this three promise life cycle that is generated by our create async thing. So again I'm just going to copy paste this three life cycle, and we can paste it here, and don't forget to change this one from get post to create post. So let's copy this one, let's paste it here, and the rest of the thing will be as it is. So we are done with the action part. So let's work on this create post. So from our ant design we need to bring some component. So the component we are going to need here, input, button, card, space. Okay, and we are also going to need use selector and use dispatch from our React Redux. So use selector we need to bring, and use dispatch, and from React we need use state as well. So first I am going to define one state with values. So this is the same value that we are going to pass through our action, so that it can receive here in our post slice.js file. So let's work on this create post. So use state, and we are going to define our initial state with an object. We are going to have title and body, and after that we are going to have one more state, so show post and set show post. So this state basically we are using to display the created post. Okay, so once user creates the post, then on the same page we are going to display that created post. So use state, and initially it will be the false, and after that let's store the reference of use dispatch in a dispatch variable. So use dispatch. So first we are going to work on our form component. So we are going to create a form. So let's remove this one, and we are going to have a form. Let's remove action part, and here we are going to have on submit method, so in which we are going to define handle submit. Okay, and inside this form we are going to have adding create post. Okay, and after this we are going to define our input field, and let's give here placeholder like enter title. Type will be the text only. Okay, and on change we are going to give here, so I can give here like set values. Okay, and I can spread out the values, and we have to just only, and we can set the title values to e.target.values. Okay, now we are going to have values, so we can destructure the values. So from values we can destructure like title and body. Okay, and in the value we can pass the title. Okay, and let's give some inline styling as well to this input field. So width I'm going to give 400 pixel. Okay, and after this I am going to have couple of br breakpoint, and then we are going to have text area. So input dot text area. Okay, and after this I'm just going to copy this thing, and I'm going to paste it here, and here it will be body. Okay, it will be text, and this will become body. So body value will be body, and width will be as it is 400 pixel, and size we have to give because it is a text area, so it will be large. Now I'm going to have couple of break again, and inside this I'm going to have a space. So I'm going to create a one button here. So style, let's give a style like margin 10, and we are going to have button. So I'm going to use anti-design button component, and on click we are going to have on click method. So the value of button will be the go back, so we will define on click method later. So go back, basically you will navigate back to the home page only, and we are going to have one submit button. Okay, so let's give here submit. Type we can give primary. Okay, and HTML type submit. Okay, so let's go into the browser. We have some error, so we need to define this handle submit. So for now let's just create a empty function. Okay, so it will receive an event. So let's go into the browser. So we have got this two input field, one is a normal input field and other is text area. So we have go back and submit button, and if you click on go back you will navigate towards the home page. So from React router DOM we need to bring use navigate. Okay, and we are going to use navigate here, use navigate, and what we have to do, so we are storing the reference of use navigate in a navigate variable, and in on click we can give here like navigate. So we can give here navigate, and we wanted to navigate towards the home page. So let's first try this one. Refresh this one. Let's click on go back. So now we are able to navigate towards the home page. So now we have to basically work on the create post. So we are going to dispatch an action that we have created in our post/.js file. So in handle submit, we are going to dispatch that action. So now what we have to do, so this handle submit is receiving an event. So first we have to do a e.prevent default to prevent the default behavior of browser, and after that we can dispatch that action. So the action we have like create post, so VS Code automatically import that action for me, and we can just pass entire values. Okay, so this value basically we are destructuring here. You can see that in our create post action. So in create post action we are destructuring the values which we are sending through our action. So after this I wanted to empty the each input field. So what we can do here, so title will be empty and body will be the empty, and we have to also do set so post true. The moment you submit this form, I wanted to show the post on the same page. So below this form component, I wanted to show the created post. Okay, so that's why I have a separate state like set so post, and it will become true. Okay, and first we can check this one whether this create post is working or not. So we can verify with the help of Redux Dev Tool. So first let's go into the browser and let's give here like test, and I'm going to paste some text here inside this text area. So I have pasted my text here, so you can see that, and let's click on submit, and let's open the Redux Dev Tool. So you can see that our promise got fulfilled here, and we can see the state. So in app we have one post, and you can see that we have got our title, body. Okay, and you will also see a user ID. So it basically generate a random user ID. You can see that we have got one ID, one not one. So it's a random ID which is created by our JSON fake server. So now what we have to do, so we are going to display the created post below this form component once the user submitted the form. So let's go to the VS Code. I'm going to use a use selector here. So use selector I'm going to use to basically extract the state value from our store. So state dot app. Okay, and we can have a value like post and loading. Okay, and after this what we have to do, and after this we are going to have one function which is responsible for showing the created blog. So show post blog. Okay, so inside this we are going to have return. Okay, we are going to use fragment, and here also I'm going to use loading. So if loading is true, then I'm going to display a loading card component that is responsible for showing the skeleton loader, and I'm going to provide a count here 1, and else I'm going to show the created blog post. Okay, so again what I'm going to do, so I'm going in index.js file, and I'm just going to copy this thing. Okay, and let's come here and let's paste it here. Few things we might have to change, so let's give here closing div first, and this will be as it is, this will be as it is, and this will be as it is. So everything will be as it is. Okay, because once you create this post, so the post state will contain a single array of object. So we can show this created post below this form component. So I'm going to have couple of break again, and we can have like show post. So if it's true, then I'm going to show that post. Okay, so let's show post blog. Okay, let's save this one and let's go into the browser. Okay, refresh this one and let's give here like test blog, and I'm going to paste the content here. So I have pasted the content of body here, and let's click on submit. So you can see that we are successfully able to create a post and we are displaying below our form component. So we have performed this create operation with the help of Redux Toolkit in our React application. So the next operation we are going to perform the update operation. So create operation is done with Redux Toolkit. Now it's time to perform the update operation with the help of Redux Toolkit. So first we are going to create an action which will be the responsible of updating the post based on the ID. So in the post slash.js file we are going to create an action. So what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to copy this entire action and I'm just going to paste it over here, and this will become update post, and this action type will become update post. Now we are going to update the post based on the ID. So from our component we are going to receive couple of things like ID, and we are going to update the body. Okay, and we are also going to pass title. Okay, but we will update only the body part of the single blog post. So here we have to specify the ID because we are going to update the post based on the ID, and the method will become put, and the headers will be stay as it is, and in the body we have to just remove this one, so we can just pass as it is like title and body, and the rest of the thing will be as it is. Now this create async thing will generate a 3 promise lifecycle. So let's handle this 3 promise lifecycle again in our extra reducer. So I'm just going to copy this 3 lifecycle over here, and I'm just going to paste it, and make sure to update from create post to update post. Okay, so it will be update post, and this will be also update post, and no need to change this whole thing. Okay, and here we have to define some state, some additional initial state we have to define. So we are going to update only the body part. Okay, so body will be initially empty, and there will be a edit mode, so initially it will be the false, and we are also going to have one extra action. So I'm going to define that action in reducer. So this action basically responsible for enabling the edit mode. So we are going to have like set edit. Okay, and this will having like state and action, and here we are going to have like state dot edit is equal to action dot payload dot edit. So we are going to receive this thing from our component, so we have to do one more update like state dot body action dot payload and body. So we are going to receive two things like edit mode and body part, okay, of the single blog post. Let's export this action as well. So what we can do here, so we can have like export const post slice dot action, and we can give here like set edit. Okay, Now let's go back to the UI part and let's go back here. Let's fetch one post here. So now we have a edit button over here, and once user click on this edit, so this body part basically converted into the text area, and the button value will also get changed. Okay, so button value get changed from edit to save. So in index.js file, what we have to do first, so we are going to receive edit, so this new state which we have just defined in our post/.js file. So I'm just extracting those state with the help of use selector, and here what we have to do, so now we are going to have our edit mode. So if we are in edit mode, then what we have to do, so we are going to have fragment here, and in else part we are just showing this body part. Okay, that means user is not editing the post. So now all the logic we have to define inside this fragment for editing the post. So first what I'm going to do, so from this edit we are going to have on click, and we are going to dispatch one action. So dispatch, and we are going to dispatch set edit. Okay, so once the user click on this edit button, so edit mode will become true. So edit true, and we have to pass the body as well, value of body. So we can get the body like post 0 dot body. Let's format this one. Let's save the file. Now here what we have to do, so it will be in bracket, so let's give here bracket, and here we are going to have text area. Okay, text area rows 4, and we are going to have values. Okay, so we need to define the initial state. So first we have to define a state for this body value. So here what we can do, so we can have one more state like body text. Okay, because we are just updating the body of the single blog post, so we are not updating the title. So set body text, and it will be empty, and here I'm going to run one use effect. So use effect, and this use effect run once we have the value in our body. So I'm talking about this body which we have defined in our post/.js file. So if we have the body, then set body text. So with this way we will able to populate the value of body in a text area. Here what will have body. Okay, we are going to have on change. Okay, it will having a event. So set body text e dot target dot value. Okay, and then we are going to have two buttons. Okay, so that button name will be like save and cancel. So user have option to save the post, and he can also cancel the update process. So we are going to have two button with save and cancel. So I'm going to use here space. Okay, and inside that we are going to have size middle. Okay, and I'm going to have some inline styling. So margin top will be 5, and margin left I'm going to give margin left. Okay, will be 5. Okay, now between this space we are going to have our two buttons. So button, it will be type primary, and we are going to have a save. Okay, and we are going to have another button, that will be the cancel. So if you click on the cancel, you will basically come out from the edit mode if you click the cancel button. So it will be just normal button. Okay, so first we can check this one, whether we are able to populate the body value of blog in a text area or not on clicking the edit button. So let's refresh this one. Let's fetch the post with id 3. Let's click on edit. So we are able to populate the body value of blog in a text area. So this thing we don't want it. Okay, so let's go to the VS Code. So what we can do over here, so we can check here, like this entire space we can check here, like if you are not in edit mode, so in that case only we wanted to show this edit and delete button. So let's cut this one. And let's go into the browser, refresh it, let's fetch the post. Now we have got this 2 button, and once you click on the edit button, that means now you are in edit mode. So in that case I don't want it to display those 2 buttons. So once user either click on save or cancel, then this 2 button will get display over here. So for save, we are going to have on click method, and here we are going to dispatch a 2 action. Okay, so one action basically is used for updating the single blog post with body value. Okay, so here we are going to dispatch an action that we have created in our post/.js file. So we have to pass like id, so post 0.id, and we are also going to send the title, the same title we are going to send, because we are not updating the title, we are updating only the body value of blog. And body we are going to send like body text. Okay, so this value we are only changing. So if user click on the cancel, so we have to basically stop the update process, so overall he will come out from the edit mode. So in that case also we have to dispatch an action. So we are going to have on click method here. Again we are going to dispatch an action like dispatch set edit. Okay, and in that case edit will be the false. Okay, and here also we have to dispatch one more action. So dispatch set edit. So once user click on the set edit, we wanted to basically come out from the edit mode, so we have to also dispatch the set edit in case of updating the body value of single blog post. So here we are going to again pass the edit to false. Okay, and after this we have to basically make this body to empty. Okay, and here also we can pass the body to empty. And here we are getting some error, so it will be comma. Okay, so let's save this file and let's go into the browser, refresh this one. So we are going to start from scratch. So let's fetch the blog based on the id 5. Now let's click on edit. So now we are in edit mode, and if you give like test, so we are not able to update the value. So typing is not working here. So let me see what is happening. So in on change, what we have to do, so something is going wrong here, I guess. So here we have to basically show the body text. Okay, not body. So let's go into the browser and fetch the post based on the user ID 5. Let's click on edit. So now we are in edit mode. Now let's update this body value of blog post. So let's give here like blog updated, and if you click on save, so we have got the updated body value of blog here. You can see that we got the body like blog updated. So we have successfully performed the update operation as well with Redux Toolkit, and whatever the update you are doing here, it won't save in DB because JSON placeholder doesn't maintain any kind of database behind the scene. So if you refresh and fetch the post again with the same ID like 4, so you will get the old body value of this blog post. So guys, we have performed all CRUD operation with the help of Redux Toolkit and create async thing in this React application. And I hope you have understand the concept of Redux Toolkit. Now you can also integrate Redux Toolkit in any existing React project. So now it's time to move on, and now it's time to move on and learn RTK query. So first we will go through some theory, then we will start building our application with the help of RTK query. Now let's understand what is RTK query. So RTK query is a powerful data fetching and caching tool. So it is mainly used for fetching the data from server, and it's cache the data for future use. And here it is also mentioned that it is designed to simplify common cases for loading data in web application, eliminating the needs to hand write data fetching and caching logic yourself. So here we don't have to write logic manually for loading, fetching or error part whenever we have to make a API request. So generally what happen, RTK query will take care all of this task behind the scene. So overall RTK query provide a powerful tool set to define a API interface layer for our application, and you don't have to install an additional package to work with the RTK query because RTK query is built on the top of the other API in the Redux Toolkit package. So you don't have to install RTK query additionally in your application. Now let's see what API include inside this RTK query. So first we have a create API. So create API is the core of the RTK query functionality. It allows you to define a set of endpoints, describe how to retrieve a data from a series of endpoints, including configuration of how to fetch and transform that data. And in most cases, we should use this once per app. So overall in create API, we define a different endpoint you can call series of endpoint. So this is all about the create API. Now let's talk about the fetch based query. So fetch based query is a small wrapper around fetch to simplify request. So inside this fetch based query, we define base URL for our API. Now let's talk about the API provider. So API provider can be used as a provider if you don't have a Redux store. So if you don't have a store in your application, so you can use this API provider. So in this course, we are not going to follow this approach. So we will be basically follow the traditional approach. So basically we bring the provider from React Redux library and we wrap our app component with the provider and we pass our store to the app component. So this API provider approach we are not going to use in this course. Now let's talk about the last one, that is setup listener. So it is a utility used to enable refetch on amount and refetch on reconnect behavior. So this is all about the RTK query. So guys, now we are going to set up our React project. So I'm going to use TypeScript template. So let's copy this command here. And now I'm going into my directory. And here I'm going to open a command prompt. And let's paste that command. And I'm going to change the app name. So app name will be like RTK-CRUD. Okay. And let's hit enter. So it will take around 2 to 3 minutes to install all the necessary dependency. So I'll be back once all the dependency get installed. So guys, our project is now created and I have already opened this project in my Visual Studio Code. So let's go into the VS Code first and let's open first package.json file. So let's see what we have in our package.json file. So you can see that we have already got Redux Toolkit and React Redux package because we have used this command to create our React project. So if you are using this command, then you don't need to install manually Redux Toolkit and React Redux. So that's why I have used this command to create our React project. So we have got our Redux Toolkit and React Redux package. Now what we have to do? So first I am going to do a cleanup here little bit. So we don't need feature folder for this project. So let's remove this one. We also don't need this app folder. So let's remove this one as well. And in app.tsx file, what we have to do? So first I am going to remove all this unwanted content which is not required for our project. So let's remove this one. Let's keep this heading like RTK query. Okay, and let's remove all this thing. Let's remove this test file as well. And in index.tsx file, let's do comment here this line of code, and also let's do comment this one. We are going to do uncomment this later once we configure our Redux toolkit in this application, and also comment this line of import and this line of import because later it's gonna required. And before we do npm start, let's install some packages. So first I'm going into this directory and I'm going to install packages like React Router DOM, and I'm going to install React Toastify as well because we are going to use toast notification in this project to show either error message or success message. So let's install these two packages first. And meanwhile I'm going to create db.json file because we are going to use JSON server in this project. So let's create db.json file in the root directory, and here I'm going to paste some data. So I have just pasted some initial data so that we can start our work, and you can also create this data from your end. So you have to just add name, email, contact and ID. And in order to run this JSON server, we have to write one script in our package.json file. So I'm going to paste one script over here. So this is the script required in order to run our JSON server. So our JSON server will run on 5000 port. And let's see whether our package is installed or not. So our package got installed now. So let's do here npm start. And I'm also going to start our JSON server as well. So this is our project directory, and I'm going to open one more command prompt here, and I'm going to do here npm run server, and we can access this resource on this URL. So let's copy this URL. So by mistake it's got cancelled. So let's restart this JSON server again, and we can access this resource on this URL. So let's just copy this one and let's go into the browser. So you can see that we are able to display all the data that we have in our db.json file. So this is our initial data that I have put in my db.json file. So this is our initial data that is displaying in our browser on this URL. Okay. So now I'm going to structuring our project. So I'm going to create couple of folder here. So first folder I'm going to have like pages, and the next folder we are going to have services. Okay, and next folder we are going to have model because we are using here TypeScript, so we have to create a model for this contact data. Now we are going to have a store under the source. So let's create here a store.js, not js, because we are using TypeScript, so it will be tsx. And here you will get an error. So for now what we can do here, so export const store and we can give here console.log, okay, to avoid the error for now. We will remove this later. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to register our all route. So I'm going to create some file here. So add edit, I'm going to create add edit.tsx. So here we are going to use same file for adding the new contact or updating the existing contact. And for this add edit, we are also going to have CSS file for this page. So add edit.css. The next page we are going to have home, in which we are going to display all the contact in a table component. And for this also we are going to use CSS file. So home.css. And the last page we are going to have info page, in which we are going to display a single contact detail. And for this also we are going to use CSS file. So info.css. and for now I'm just going to generate a React snippet here, and I'm just going to give heading like add edit, okay, because I'm going to register this route in our app.tsx file. Let's generate the snippet here as well. So it will be home, and let's generate a snippet in our info.tsx file as well. So it will be info. Now let's first go to our app.tsx file, in which I'm going to register all this route. So from React router DOM, we need to bring couple of components. So we need here routes, browser router, and route, okay. And let's remove this one, and here I'm going to use browser router, and here routes, in which I'm going to register all routes. So first route is gonna be the home route, and we are using here routes, so we don't need to provide the exact keyword. So here we are using the updated version of React router DOM. You can see that in our package.json file. So React router DOM got updated to version 6. So you can see that we are also not using switch here. Instead we are using routes, and here it will be not component, it will be the element. So we can bring our home component. So VS Code automatically import that component for me, and let's copy this couple of times, and this will be the add contact, okay. And we are going to bring the add edit component. So now this one will be the edit contact. So we are going to edit the contact based on the ID, and we are going to use the same component for updating the existing contact. And the last page we are going to have a info page, in which we can see the single contact detail. So it will be info, and we are going to view the single contact detail based on the ID. And here we are going to bring the info component. So let's verify in the browser whether all this route is registered or not. So let's go into the browser. So you can see that home route got registered. Let's verify the add contact. So this is also registered. Let's verify edit contact. So in case of edit contact, we have to specify the ID. So it will render the same page because we are using the same page for adding the new contact or updating the existing contact. Now let's verify the info as well. So in case of info also, we are going to provide the ID. So this is also got registered. So we have successfully registered our all route in this application. So now we are going to start working on our RTK query. So as you can see that in our db.json file, we have already some initial data. So I'm going to write a query to fetch all the data that we have in our db.json file. So I am going to create one file here in service folder. So the file name will be like contacts api.tsx, okay. And in this file we are going to create a series of endpoints with the help of create API, okay. So from Redux Toolkit and we have to go to query, then React, and we have to bring create API and fetch base query as well, in which we are going to provide our base URL, and we have to also create a model here. So it will be like contact.model.ts. okay, so in this I am going to create an interface for our contact. So you can see that our contact will have ID, name, email and contact. So let's go to this context api.tsx file, and here let's bring that interface from our model folder. So contact. Now here we are going to create our series of endpoint with the help of create API. So export const contacts API, and we are going to use here create API, and here first I am going to specify reducer path. So this is required because we need to connect this service with our store. So we can give here reducer path contacts API only, and here we are going to have our base query, in which we are going to specify our base URL inside this fetch base query. So our base URL is like http localhost 5000. okay, after that we are going to create a series of endpoint. So we are going to use here builder pattern. So builder, after that we are going to create our query here. So contacts builder dot query, and here we are going to receive our all query in the form of array of object. So we have to provide this model, and we have to specify this array because our all contact is stored in an array of object in our db.json file. You can see that here. So that's why I have specified here array, and the second argument will be the void because we are not passing anything as a argument. So it will be void, and inside that we are going to write query, and here we have to specify our endpoint. So it will be contacts. okay, and this query basically exposes a knee hook. So we can get this knee hook like this way: export const from our contacts API. So the knee hook will be like use contacts query. okay, so whatever the name you are going to give here, so it's going to expose a new hook like this way. So let's see if you're giving here only data. okay, so now our new hook will become use data query. okay, so it's up to you whatever the name you are going to give, so the query will get changed. So it will be now use contacts query. So I hope you are getting my point here. So now we are done with our first query, which is responsible for fetching the data that we have in our JSON server. We have to configure our store. So let's remove this piece of code, and we are going to bring configure store from our Redux toolkit. So configure store, and we have to also bring that contacts API from our service folder. Contacts API. okay, and here we are going to configure our store. So export const store is equal to configure store, and here I am going to use reducer and contacts API dot reducer path. So that's the reason I have specified the reducer path in our contacts API.tsx file, so that it can be connect with our store. So now it will be contacts API.reducer, and here I am also going to use middleware. So middleware, and I'm going to use default middleware. So get default middleware. Okay, get default middleware dot concat, and we are going to concat our contact API with middleware. Okay, so we are done with the store configuration. Now let's go into the index.tsx file, and we can just do uncomment all this import statement and this one as well, the provider one, and we have to change the path of store. Now it is in source folder, so we can specify this path, and now we can verify this one whether we have successfully configured our Redux toolkit or not. So let's go into the browser. So first let's go to the home page and let's open our Redux Dev Tool. Okay, and let's see the state. So now you can see that we have got this queries, mutation, provided and subscription. That means we have successfully configured our Redux toolkit in this React application. So now we are going to display all the context that we have in our db.json file in a table component. So let's go into the VS Code. So you can see that I have already some data in our db.json file. So first I am going to display this data in a table component. So in home.tsx file we are going to do that one. So from React, first let's bring use effect. Okay, and we also need to bring link from our React router DOM, and after that we also going to need toast as well from our React Toastify. So let's bring this one as well, and we also going to bring this CSS file as well. So import home.css. Okay, and I'm going to paste the CSS code for this file, and don't worry about all this CSS code because I have already attached this CSS file to this lecture. Okay, so you can find this CSS file in this lecture itself. So let's come to this home.tsx file. Now what we have to do, so we are going to use that use context query to fetch the data that we have in our db.json file. So use context query. So you can see that VS Code automatically import that one. Now what we have to do, so once it's fetched the data from our JSON server, so basically our all data will present in the data. Okay, so you can see that in this data we are going to have all the data that we have in our db.json file. Okay, now you can also extract some more property. So you can also bring like loading. Okay, is loading. You can also use here is fetching. So you can see that this query provides different property like is error, is fetching, is success. Okay, so you can use this one, and we are going to use only data is loading and error part as well. Okay, so as per your convenience you can also use other property as well if you wanted, but I am going to use only this three property from this use context query. Now we have got all the data. Now we have to display this data in a table component. So let's remove this one. I'm going to give some inline styling here. So let's give here margin top 100 pixel, and after that I'm going to have one link. Okay, so basically it will navigate towards the add contact page. So add contact, and then we are going to have button with the class name btn add. Okay, and the value of button will be the add contact. Now after this link we are going to have couple of break, and then we are going to have a table with the class name style table. Okay, now inside this table, so spelling of table is incorrect, so it will be table. Okay, like this way, table. Okay, now inside this we are going to have table head first. Inside table head we are going to have table row, then we are going to have table head, and first column will be the ID, and we can give here a style like text align center. Okay, text align center, and I'm going to do couple of copy in this line of code. So this will become name, email, then contact, and this will be the action in which we can perform edit, delete and view operation with RTK query. Now after this T head, let's format this one first. So after this T head we are going to have our T body. So inside this T body we are going to display our data that we have in our db.json file. So data.map and we can have item, and it could be any. Since we are using here TypeScript, so we have to provide this one, otherwise you will get an error. So index will be the any also. Now after this we are going to basically return. Okay, so first let's define table row, and we have to define key here item.id. Inside this table row we are going to have first row as a table head only. We can give here scope row, and here we are going to use index plus 1, because in array index start from 0, so we are going to basically increase the index plus 1. So this will be not be id, you can give here number. Okay, so it should not be id. And after this what we have to do, so now we are going to have our table data. Inside this we can display our item dot name. I am going to copy couple of times this line of code. So this will email, this will contact. Okay, now in the last column in which we have an action, so in this action we are going to have 3 buttons for performing the edit operation, delete operation and view operation. So in table data we are going to have link here, and we have to provide 2 here, and we wanted to navigate towards the edit page. So let's check the route first. So we have add contact, then edit contact. So the route will be like edit contact, then $item.id. Now after this we are going to have button, then it will be edit, and we are going to give class name here btn edit. Okay, now after this button we are going to have one more button to perform the delete operation. So button with the class name btn hyphen delete. Okay, and the value of button will be the delete. We will soon define the onClick method here as well. So let's first define the button. Now we are going to have a view button which will navigate towards the single contact page. So it will also have a button with the class name btn hyphen view. Okay, and the value of button will be the view, and we are going to navigate towards the info page. Okay, so info, and we can specify here $. So here we have to specify the ID. So let's check the single contact page as well. So it's registered with the info only. So let's go to the home.tsx file, and we can check first where our data is showing or not in a table component. So now you can see that we are able to show the data in a table component. So we have a name, email, contact, and action. Now we are also going to use this is loading as well. So we can use here like if is loading is true, that means we are going to show some message like S3 loading. Okay, so let's go into the browser and we can also verify this one. So let's reload this application. So now you can see that for a brief moment we are getting this loading. Okay, let's also use this one as well, error. So for error I am going to use a use effect here. So let's use a here use effect, and here I'm going to pass the dependency error. So this use effect only runs if we have any kind of error, and we can give here message like toast dot error, like something went wrong. Okay, so we can also test this one whether it's working or not. So what I'm going to do now, so let's go to the context api.tsx file, and here we can just modify this one. So let's modify this one. Okay, let's save this one. Let's go into the browser, refresh this one. So we are not getting anything. So let console log this one, what actually we are getting. So console log error, whether we are getting anything or not. So let's go into the browser, refresh this one. So you can see that we have got object and we have got the status. Okay, so why we are not getting the toast notification? Because we haven't configured our React-Toastify in a app.tsx file. So we have to first configure this React-Toastify, then only we can see the toast notification. So let's do that one first. So I'm just going to paste the 2 line of import statement related to the React-Toastify, and we can use here toast container, and let's go into the browser. So now you can see that we have got this error message like something went wrong. So we have also tested this one. Now let's reverse our changes here. So it will be contacts. So let's go into the browser. So now everything looks good. So the next thing we are going to work on our adding the contact. So if you just click on add contact, then we are going to basically show a form component here in which user can provide the contact details like name, email, and contact. So let's do that one in a next video. So in order to add a new contact, so first I am going to write a query here. So here I am going to write a query like add contact, and here we are going to write our builder pattern. So builder dot mutation. Since we are adding a new data, so here we have to write a mutation. So here what we can do, so here the first argument will be the object, because we are going to send the contact detail in a object form, and then our contact. Okay, after this what we have to do, so we have to write a query here, then contact, we are going to receive a contact from our component, then we have to first specify the URL. So the URL will be the contacts only, and method we have to specify. So for adding a new contact, so method will be the post, then body. So in body we are going to send the contact that we are receiving from our component. So we have to specify the contact, here. Now it will expose a new hook here. So we are going to write a new hook like use add contact mutation. Okay. So we are done with the query part related to adding a new contact in our JSON file. So now we have to create a form component in this addEdit.tsx file. So let's do that one. So from React I am going to bring use state, use effect. Okay. And from React router DOM we need to bring use param and use navigate. So use param basically will require later once we perform the update operation. Now we also need use navigate in order to navigate towards the home after adding a new contact. So it is also required. Let's bring the toast as well from our React Toastify. So let's bring the toast. So let's bring the CSS file as well for this page. So addEdit.css. Okay. And I'm going to paste the CSS code here in this CSS file. And don't worry guys, I have already attached this CSS file to this lecture, so you can get it from there. Now let's work on our form component first. So I'm going to define some initial state outside this component. So initial state like name, email and contact. So let's give here like name, which will be empty, email, which will be the empty, and contact, which will be the empty. Now here I am going to define one state. Okay, const form value, set form value, use state, and I'm going to pass this initial state here. Okay, now I can destructure all this value from our form value. So we can destructure like name, email and contact, and we have to also store the reference of use navigate into a navigate variable. So let's do that one as well. So basic thing we have done here. Now what we have to do first, so I'm going to first work on our form component. Okay, so let's remove this one, this h2 tag, and I'm going to provide some inline styling, that is again margin top 100 pixel. Okay, and I'm going to have like here form, and here I'm going to paste some inline styling again. So this is the inline styling I have just pasted here. So this way our form component will be in middle. So now after that we are going to have a label that will be like name and HTML for, so it will be the name, and we are going to have input field. Okay, inside this we are going to have like type, so it will be text, then ID, name will be name only, and the placeholder will be like enter name. Okay, then value we can give here name, and we are going to have on change, so let's define that one as well. So handle input change. Okay, let's define this one, handle input change outside this return. And let's also define the handle submit for form submissions. So handle submit, and we can use handle submit here like on submit, handle submit, and both function will receive an event. we are going to work later on this function. Now I'm going to copy this input field couple of times for email and contact. Okay, so this will become now email. This will be the email. Type will be the email. So ID will be email, name will be the email. We can give here like enter email. Value will be the email, and the last input field will be the contact. So this will become contact, and this will be the only number. So let's give here type number. ID will become contact, name will become contact. Here it will be like enter contact number. Okay, value will become contact. Okay, and we got two warning here. So since we are using TypeScript, so here you can give like any. Okay, so let's go into the browser and check whether our form component is displaying or not. So our form component is displaying here. Now we are missing one button here, so let's add that button as well. So after this input field, we are going to add that button. So input type will be the submit. Okay, and we are going to give here like value. So value will be the submit. Okay, so value will be like add. So let's go into the browser. So now you can see that we have got our button as well. So our form is ready now. So now the next thing, we are going to add our new contact in the db.json file. So we are going to use the query. So first let's work on this function first. So in handle input change, let's first destructure from e.target like name and value, and then set form value. We can spread out form value, then we can do like name colon value. So handle input done. Now let's work on handle submit. So first we are going to do e.prevent default to prevent the default behavior of browser. After this, we are just going to verify like if user hasn't provided name or email or contact, then I don't want it to submit the empty form. So in that case, I wanted to show a error message in the form of toast notification. So we can give here like toast.error, and we can give message like please provide value into each input field. Okay, let's save this one, and in else part we are going to basically use that query that we have created in our contact api.tsx file. So here we have to do something at the top. So we have to bring that query. So use add contact mutation, we have bring here. Now here we need to write like add contact. Okay, add contact, and this add contact we are going to use here in our handle submit. So this handle submit will be the async. So let's use here async, and after that we can just do like await add contact, and here we can provide our form value, entire form value, and after that we can navigate towards the home page, and we can give here success message like contact added successfully. Contact added successfully. Okay. Now we can verify this one whether it's working or not. So let's go into the browser. Let's reload the app. And let's first verify the empty input field validation. So let's click on add. So now you can see that we have got our toast notification. Now let's add one contact here. So let's give here name like test for now. test@gmail.com. Let's give some contact. And let's click on add. So now you can see that we are successfully able to add the contact in our table component. So guys, we have performed the add operation with the help of RTK query. Now we are going to perform the delete operation. So in order to delete a contact, first we are going to write a query. So in context api.tsx file, we are going to write first query to delete a contact. So after this, we are going to have one more query like delete contact. Delete contact. We are going to write builder pattern here. This will be also mutation. And we are going to pass the first argument void here. So it will be void and string. Okay. So why we are passing a string? Because we are going to pass a ID. So you can delete the contact based on the ID. So that's why it will be the string here, because we are going to pass the ID from our component. So let's write here query. We are going to have ID and here we are going to specify URL, and here the URL will be like contacts, and we have to specify the ID here. And method, I'm going to give here delete, because we are performing the delete operation. Now this delete contact again expose a new hook. So let destructure that new hook here, use delete contact mutation. Now we are going to use this one in our home.tsx file, because in home.tsx file we have our delete button. So here we are going to have our onClick method, okay, in which we are going to define one method like handle delete, okay, and we can pass item.id. Now we have to define this function outside this return, okay. So let's do that one. Const handle delete, and it will be also async, and here it will receive an ID, so it could be any. And after that, first I wanted to show a window pop-up confirm message to a user like, are you sure you wanted to delete that message? So some kind of message I wanted to display to the user before deleting. So the message will be like, are you sure that you wanted to delete that contact? So if user click on OK, then he will basically come inside this if condition, and here we can use that mutation query. So we have to bring our use delete contact mutation, and we can use this one to delete our contact. So this will be like delete contact, and we can use here delete contact, and we can pass the ID, and here we can give the success message like toast.success contact deleted successfully. Now let's go into the browser and see whether we are able to delete the contact or not. So let's refresh this application. Let's delete the fourth one, Now let's click on OK. So now you can see that we have got the message like contact deleted successfully, but from our table component it's not getting deleted. So if you refresh this application, you will see that the fourth record is got deleted now from our table component. So why it's happening? Because we have to add some more property in our context api.tsx file. So we have to provide a tag types. Okay, so we can give here tag types, and here it will be contact, because the name of model is contact. So whenever any change occur in our entire contact, so it will get refreshed. Okay, so we can use this one tag type like this way in each query. So in case of query, we are going to use provided tags, and here we can pass again this contact. And in case of mutation, we are going to have like invalidated tags. Okay, so here we have to use invalidated tags, so it will be contact, and here also we have to use invalidated tags. So if any change happens in our data, then our UI will get re-render with the updated data. So let's try again. So let's reload this application again, and let's try to delete again one more record. So let's delete this one and click on OK. So now you can see that this time it got deleted without reloading this application. So you have to provide this tags in order to see the updated data on UI. So we have performed the delete operation in this application with the help of RTK query. Now we are going to view the single record based on the ID on this info page. So let's do that one. So first we are going to write a query for this. So let's go to the context api.tsx file, and here we are going to write a query. So contact. Okay, and again we are going to write a builder pattern here. So builder dot query, and the first argument will be the contact, because we are going to get a single contact in the object, and the second argument will be the string, because we are going to pass a ID from our component to get the single contact from our db.json file. And here we have to write a query, and we are going to specify the ID, and let's specify the endpoint here. So it will be the ID, and we have to also specify the provides tag here. So let's copy this one and let's paste it here. Let's give here comma. Now this contact will expose a new hook, so we can destructure this new hook here. So use contact query. Okay, now let's go to the info.tsx file, where we are going to display the single contact detail. Now here what we have to do, so from React, first I need to bring use effect. Okay, and we are also going to need here use param, because we need ID from our URL. So from React router DOM we need use param as well as link, because we are also going to have one go back button in order to navigate towards the home page. And let's bring our toast as well from React Toastify. So toast. Now let's bring the CSS file for this info.tsx file as well. So info.css, and I'm going to paste the CSS code here for this info.css file, and the CSS file is already attached to this lecture, so you can easily find out that CSS file in this lecture, which is already attached. So here what we have to do, so first we are going to grab the ID. So if I go back to our application, and if you click on view, So you can see that we have got this ID too. Okay, so we need to grab that ID with the help of use param. So here we are going to use param, and we need ID. Okay, now after that we are going to use that use contact query. Okay, and this use contact query we are going to pass the ID. Okay, and here we have to provide exclamation mark. Okay, so let's fetch, and here we are going to destructure data. So it will contain a single object in which we will have our all contact detail like name, email and contact. We are also going to use error here, and we are also going to use error. So let's bring that one as well. And error part we are going to use here inside our use effect. So this use effect only runs if you have any kind of error. So we can give here like error. If we are checking like if you have error, then toast dot error, and we can give something message like something went wrong. Okay, now we have got our single contact detail here inside this data. So here what we can do, so style I can give some margin top 150 pixel, and I'm going to use class here, card class. I'm going to use one more class, so card header, and inside this I'm going to have one p tag, some heading like user contact detail. Okay, after this p tag, so what we are going to have, so again I'm going to have one more class with the container, and inside that we are going to use strong tag. So we are going to use here ID, and then we are going to have a span tag in which I am going to display the ID. Okay, so we have grabbed the ID with the help of use param. Now I am going to have couple of break here. Okay, and I am going to copy this couple of times because we are also going to display the name, email and contact. So this will become name. Okay, and this will become like data dot name, because this data will contain a single object in which it will have all the contact detail like name, email and contact. So this will become email data dot email. Okay, and the last one will become contact. Okay, and this will data dot contact, and at this below we are going to have our go back button. So button, and I'm going to use here class name btn edit, and let's give the value of button go back, and we are going to use here link. So let's cut this button and paste it here, and we are going to navigate towards the home page. So if user click on go back button, so he will basically navigate towards the home page. So let's see whether it's working or not. So let's go into the browser. So let's view this contact detail. So now you can see that we are able to see the single user contact detail on our info page, and if you click on go back, so you will navigate towards the home page. So now we are done with the single user contact detail based on the ID with the help of RTK query. Now we are going to perform the update operation So if user click on edit button, so he will navigate towards this edit contact page, and first we are going to populate the existing value into each respective input field for name, email and contact, and the value of button will also get changed from add to update. So first let's do all this thing, then we are going to perform the update operation. So in add edit.tsx file, what we have to do, so here I am going to use param. So with the help of use param, we are going to get our ID from our URL. Now after that, what we have to do, so first our job is to populate the data into each respective input field. I am going to have one state here that is called edit mode. Okay, set edit mode, and it will be initially false. Okay, now we are going to run use effect here. So use effect, and this use effect only runs once we have the ID and once we have the data. So here we are going to use this query to get the single contact detail based on the ID in order to populate into each respective input field. So here in add edit.tsx file, what we have to do, so we are going to use that query as well. So const use contact query, and we are going to get data, and let's also bring the error as well. So this use effect only runs once we have ID and data, and here we are going to check if we have the ID, that means user is updating the existing contact detail. So in that case I wanted to do like set edit mode to true. Okay, and here we are going to check if we have the data, then set form value, and I'm just going to spread out the data because this data will have the single object which will hold the value like name, email and contact. So we are spreading out this value in order to populate the existing value into each respective input field. Now in this else condition, what we are going to do, so just do a set edit mode to false and set form value to our initial state. Okay, and let's also use one more use effect. So this use effect basically will run if you have any error. Okay, so error, and here we can check if you have error. Also we are going to provide an ID, so we can give here message like toast dot error something went wrong. So in case of update, we are only checking this error part, so we can give here like something went wrong, because in case of adding the new contact you will not get ID. Okay, so let's first check whether we are able to populate the existing value, and here we got some error. So here basically we have to provide the ID. Okay, that's why we are getting that error. So we can use this one after this line. Okay, and first let's go into the browser and see whether we are able to populate the existing value into each respective input field or not. So now you can see that we are able to populate the existing value into each respective input field. Let's go back and let's click on this one, second record. So it is working. So now in order to update the existing contact details, first we have to write a query here in our contacts api.tsx file. So here what we have to do, so here I'm just going to copy this one and let's paste it here, and this will be like update contact. method will be the put, and here we are going to receive a contact. Okay, and the second one will be the string, because we are going to update the contact based on the ID. So here what I can do, so we need ID and we can pass rest of the content as it is, like name, email and contact. So we can just give here like rest, and in body we can just pass this rest, because this rest object will contain our updated contact detail like name, email, contact. And here we got some error. So here we are getting error because it will be void. Okay, and it will be contact, because we are getting this contact object from our component. So we are receiving this contact from our component which contain ID, name, email and contact. So that's why I am here destructuring the ID only, and I am just passing the rest of the detail like email, name and contact in the body. So we have to do this small adjustment here, and this query will again expose the new hook. So let's destructure that new hook here. So use update contact mutation. Okay, now let's go to the add edit.tsx file, and in handle submit we have to basically update the existing logic. So in handle submit basically we have to update our existing logic. So here first we have to determine whether we are in edit mode or not. So if we are not in edit mode, that means user is adding a new contact. So we can cut out this piece of code and we can paste it here. And in else part, what we have to do, so first we have to bring that use update contact mutation, and let's just copy this one, and it will be use update contact mutation, and this will be update contact. Now in handle submit we can just copy this one, we can paste it here. This will update contact, and we also wanted to set the edit mode to false, and after updating the contact we wanted to navigate towards the home page. So we have also specified the navigate here, and let's update the message as well. So it will be contact updated successfully. Now here also we have to change the value of button based on the edit mode. So if you are in edit mode, so the value of button will be the update, and in case of adding it will be the add. Okay, so let's go into the browser, refresh this application. Now let's click on edit. Now let's update this one name. So this will become like James Gunn, and let's click on update. So now you can see that we are successfully able to update the existing contact detail. So we have performed the update operation with the help of RTK query in this React application. Now it's time to perform all operation one by one so that we won't break anything. So let's add one new contact again, and this time I'm going to give here like harry@gmail.com. Let's click on add. So new contact added successfully in our table component. Let's view this one. So we are also able to view the contact. Now let's edit the existing contact details. So let's click on edit. Now this time I'm going to give here Potter, and let's also update the email as well. So Harry Potter, let's click on update. So we are also able to perform the update operation. Now let's perform the delete operation. So I'm going to delete the second record. Let's click on delete. Let's click on OK. So we are also able to delete the record from our table component with the help of RTK query. So we have successfully built our CRUD application with the help of RTK query, in which we have learned to write different query such as get, post, put and delete. So I hope you have got some understanding about how to write RTK query in React. So we have built two applications in today's video. The first application we have built with the help of Redux Toolkit and create a sync thing, and the second application we have built with the help of RTK query. So I hope this video is helpful, and if you find out that video is useful, then you can share this content with your friend and colleague. So that's it from my end. And if you haven't subscribed this channel, then please do subscribe this channel, like the video as well. So thank you so much guys for watching this video. I will see you in next video.